All right, Celtics Nation, let's talk about it. Because the preseason might not count in the standings, but that game against Toronto gave us plenty to chew on. You can say wins and losses don't really matter in October, but when you beat a Raptors team running a lineup that looked more like a regular season test drive than an experiment, that says something. Toronto had Brandon Ingram, R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, and Jacob Poeltl all out there for big minutes. That's a serious group, and Boston still managed to grind out the 110-108 win with a buzzer beater from Xavier Tillman, the X-Man himself. And that's without Jaylen Brown, who left early with a tweaked hamstring after barely 7 minutes on the floor. So yeah, for a preseason game, that one had a little bit of everything. The Jaylen situation definitely had hearts skipping a beat. He grabbed his hamstring, walked off right away, and didn't return. Joe Mazzulla said afterward that there's no real update yet, but that Jaylen seemed fine and should be okay. Of course, we've heard that tune before. Drew Holiday's knee last season, Porzingis' foot, so fans are taking it with cautious optimism. You never want to see one of your stars limping off before the real games even begin. Boston's margin for error right now feels razor thin. This team doesn't have that luxury of missing a key guy for weeks at a time. Sure, there's talent all over the roster, but depth isn't the same as it used to be. When you've got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Drew Holiday, you can hang with anybody. But if one of them goes down, suddenly those next man up expectations start to feel heavy. So yeah, fingers crossed that this is just a minor scare and that JB will be back at full speed when the Sixers come to town for opening night. Now, about that starting five we saw against Toronto, it started to look like Mazzulla might have tipped his hand. Peyton Pritchard and Derek White ran the backcourt, with Chris Boucher and Neemias Quetta holding down the frontcourt, and Jaylen out there until he left. I know a lot of people thought there was no way this would be the lineup, but here we are. White and Pritchard logged major minutes. White played 35, Pritchard 32. Quetta got 21, Boucher 19. Off the bench, Josh Minott and Anthony Simons led the way in playing time, which says a lot about what the coaching staff is looking at right now. And speaking of the bench, R.J. Lewis Jr. being waived opens up a two-way slot. No idea what the plan is there, but the front office clearly wants flexibility heading into the regular season. And man, we have to pause for a second and talk about Malcolm Brogdon. 9 years in the league, Rookie of the Year right out of the gate, Sixth Man of the Year with Boston in the 22-23 season, and now he's calling it a career. Honestly, that one hit harder than expected. Brogdon always felt like one of those steady veteran presences who'd be around forever. You could always count on him to make the smart play, keep the offense organized, and just be that professional voice in the locker room. Injuries took their toll, but the guy gave everything he had. So, respect to Brogdon, a real pro, a thoughtful player, and someone who always represented the Celtics named the right way. Back to the game, though. Let's talk about Derek White, because if you didn't see it, go back and check the highlights. White looked absolutely locked in. With Jaylen out early, someone had to shoulder the scoring load, and Derek did it without hesitation. He finished with 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 blocks. 4 blocks from a guard. It's wild. He led all guards in blocked shots last season, and yet somehow he didn't make an all-defensive team. That's going to change this year. But it wasn't just the defense. He took 17 threes, made 6 of them, and went 10 for 23 overall from the field. The aggression was exactly what this team needed to see. He read the situation perfectly. The team needed offense, and he stepped up. Peyton Pritchard didn't have the best shooting night. 1 for 11 from the field and 0 for 8 from deep, but he found other ways to impact the game. 10 points, 10 assists, 2 steals, 3 boards, and 8 for 8 from the line. That's what you want from a guard who understands his role. When the shot isn't falling, find another way to help. That's maturity, and that's why Pritchard keeps earning trust in this rotation. Chris Boucher and Neemias Quetta deserve some shine too. Boucher, in limited minutes, grabbed 9 rebounds and had a block and a steal. Quetta, on the other hand, had one of his best outings since joining the team. In 21 minutes, he dropped 8 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks, and a steal. The guy was everywhere. That's the type of physicality and rebounding presence the Celtics desperately need right now. Rebounding has been a big question all preseason, especially without Porzingis and with Al Horford moving into a more limited role. Quetta came in and flat-out competed. You could feel his energy every time he hit the floor. Now, the most surprising part of the night might have been Josh Minott. The kid looked confident, decisive, and ready for the moment. 9 points, 4 boards, and a couple of blocks don't jump off the page, but the way he played, the energy, the movement, the defensive awareness, that's what caught everyone's attention. It really feels like he's leapfrogged guys like Jordan Walsh and Baylor Shaman in the wing rotation. Hugo Gonzalez also made a strong impression, going 2 for 2 from deep, finishing with 8 points, and just playing smart basketball. Both Minott and Hugo have been making the right plays, staying active, and showing that they belong. You can sense the coaching staff getting excited about them. When veterans like Derek White are singing your praises, that means something. There's a certain calmness and purpose to how those two play. They don't force things. They defend, move the ball, take good shots, and seem to understand the system already. That's rare for young players still fighting for rotation minutes. Hugo especially gives off that vibe of a player who just gets it. He's not going to score 20 a night, but he'll make winning plays, the extra pass, the smart cut, the help defense that leads to a stop. He's like the kind of glue guy that every championship caliber team quietly needs. And shout out to Xavier Tillman, because he sealed the deal with that game winner and looked strong throughout his 16 minutes. 7 points, 7 rebounds, solid defense. Exactly what you want from your backup big. You can tell he's ready to be that steady presence off the bench. Between him, Quetta, and Garza, there's real competition brewing in the front court. Garza brings that offensive punch and screen setting, but defensively, Quetta and Tillman give you toughness and rebounding. It's a good problem to have. Let's also give some flowers to Joe Mazzulla. For all the criticism he gets, you can see his influence on this group. He's been preaching accountability, communication, and leadership. That story about the media game against the coaching staff, where he said it wasn't just for fun, but a way to humanize competition and build connection. That says a lot about how he approaches team culture. It's easy to forget he's still a young coach, but his emotional intelligence has grown a lot. The guy gets it. He's building something deeper than just X's and O's. So yeah, it's only preseason, but you can feel that spark coming back to Boston. This isn't a finished product, not even close. But you can see the foundation taking shape. The chemistry, the effort, the communication, it's all trending in the right direction. Derek White looks ready to take another leap. Pritchard's finding ways to impact the game. The young wings are pushing for minutes. The bigs are fighting for boards like their lives depend on it. And even with the uncertainty around Jaylen Brown's hamstring, there's a sense of quiet confidence building. The Celtics have always thrived when they've embraced that gritty, team-first identity. This preseason feels like a return to that spirit. Every possession looks like it matters again. You can feel the hunger, the urgency. Maybe it's because of last year's heartbreaks. Maybe it's just that the roster feels more balanced, more cohesive. Whatever it is, it's working. Boston fans wanted effort, intensity, and chemistry. And last night, even in a preseason setting, they got a taste of all three. And speaking of hunger, you can feel in the way this group competes from the very first possession. The Celtics are no longer that team coasting through preseason, waiting for the regular games to start. Every player on the floor looks like he's fighting for a role, for trust, for a chance to be part of something bigger. You could see it in the energy of the bench, the communication between the young guys, even in the way veterans were coaching from the sideline. That kind of chemistry doesn't just happen. It's built through competition, and right now, Boston's locker room feels like it's starting to pulse with that energy again. Joe Mazzulla talked a lot about depth after the game, and it's interesting how he's framing it. He's not pretending the Celtics have an endless rotation of all-stars. He's saying the depth comes from versatility, from players willing to adapt, to fill gaps when someone goes down. That's exactly what showed up against Toronto. When Jaylen left early, it wasn't panic. It was adjustment. White stepped up. Pritchard started distributing. Quetta and Boucher controlled the glass. Guys understood their moment and took it. That kind of mental flexibility is what keeps teams steady through the grind of season. And look, Mazzulla might be polarizing, but he's clearly earning respect in the locker room. You can see it in how players respond to him, how they buy into his defensive schemes, and his emphasis on ball movement. He's not trying to be flashy. He's trying to build habits, quick rotations on defense, strong contests without fouling, making the extra pass on offense. Those might sound like cliches, but when you see them executed by young players like Hugo Gonzalez and Minot, you realize the message is landing. It's rare for rookies to come into a system like Boston's and already understand spacing, timing, and when to defer. These kids are doing it because the coaching staff has been relentless about details. Let's go back to Quetta for a second, because what he did against Toronto wasn't just a random good night. The Portuguese big man finally looked comfortable. The touch around the rim, the timing on help defense, the ability to recover after hedging a pick and roll. That's development. 12 rebounds in 21 minutes isn't just hustle, it's awareness. Boston has been desperate for a reliable rebounder who can play physical without fouling, and Quetta looks like he's figuring that out. When you think about how important defensive rebounding will be once Porzingis and Horford rotate back in, this kind of performance becomes more than just a preseason highlight. It's proof the depth Mazzulla keeps talking about might be real. Then there's Xavier Tillman. The game winner was obviously the headline, but what really stood out was how poised he looked running the floor. He's always been one of those guys who doesn't need plays drawn up for him. He just does the dirty work, sets hard screens, boxes out, finds open space when guards drive. 7 points and 7 rebounds might not sound like much, but in 16 minutes, that's the kind of efficiency that wins you games in April and May. If Tillman can stay healthy, he could end up being one of the most underrated additions to this roster. Derek White, though, continues to be the heartbeat of this team. He's the guy who fills every gap, calms every storm, and still find a way to hit big shots. You can sense the respect his teammates have for him. It's not just about the numbers, even though those numbers were wild against the Raptors. It's the leadership through action. When he dives for loose balls in a preseason game or contests a layup from a 7-footer, that sends a message to the whole team about standards. Boston has missed that kind of tone setter since Marcus Smart left, and Derek is quietly stepping into that void without needing to be loud about it. Peyton Pritchard's evolution is another story worth watching. His shooting slump against Toronto was rough, but he didn't sulk. He pivoted, turned into a playmaker, and that's growth. The younger version of Pritchard might have forced shots to get his rhythm back. This version understands that keeping the offense flowing is more valuable. He's learning to control pace, to use his quickness not just to score, but to create. The way he was finding shooters and bigs with bounce passes in traffic. That's a skill Boston will need, especially when defenses collapse on Tatum and Brown during double teams. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In a move that could shake the very foundations of the NBA, whispers around the league suggest that NIKOLA JOKIĆ, the two-time MVP and Denver Nuggets superstar, may be packing his bags for Boston. Rumors are swirling that the Serbian center has agreed to a 3-year deal with the Celtics, a signing that would instantly transform Boston into a title contender and send shockwaves across the Eastern Conference. The Celtics, a team known for its rich history and recent resurgence, are reportedly in advanced talks with Jokic's camp. Sources claim the deal is not yet official, but insiders hint that both parties have reached a mutual understanding, with financial and role details largely settled. The potential acquisition of Jokic would give Boston one of the most versatile big men in league history, a player capable of orchestrating the offense, hitting deep threes, and controlling the paint with an almost uncanny sense of timing. If true, the move would mark a seismic shift in the balance of power. The Celtics, already boasting a talented roster and a passionate fan base, could see themselves catapulted into immediate championship contention. Meanwhile, the Nuggets would face a challenging offseason, needing to restructure their roster around the sudden departure of their franchise cornerstone. The ripple effects could extend well beyond Boston and Denver, as rival teams in both conferences reevaluate their strategies in anticipation of a new NBA landscape dominated by JOKIC's skill set. Fans are buzzing on social media, speculating how JOKIC would fit alongside Boston's current stars. Would his playmaking complement the Celtics' fast-paced style, or would adjustments be required? Analysts are divided, but excitement is palpable. Even the whispers of this potential signing have sparked conversations about a new super team in Boston, rekindling debates about dynasty building in the modern NBA era. While nothing has been officially confirmed, one thing is clear. If NIKOLA Jokic does indeed don the green and white, the Celtics and the league will never be the same again. The rumor mill is alive, and fans everywhere are waiting with bated breath to see whether this bold move will materialize. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.